Hi, Dr. Ruth Anderson here with you from Enlightened World. And I'm really pleased today because today is the day of the launch of our very first volume of our anthology series. It's Gateway to an Enlightened World, Collective Life Lessons to Support Planetary Transformation. And I have the lovely Mira Rubin with me here today. Mira, do you want to come on and say hi?
I am so thrilled to be here, Ruth. Thank you so much for having me and for this phenomenal project that you have put together. It's really a privilege to be part of it.
Well, we love having you part of it. So I'm so glad you feel that way. So, Mira, your chapter is Contemplations on Oneness and Resistance. I would love to know what it's about and what made you think of putting this in the chapter in our book.
So you had asked for our contributions to the book, you had asked for what we're currently wrestling with. And at the time that I wrote that, I was wrestling with finding a way through what I was experiencing as resistance to, well, resistance all the way around in life. And I want to preface this by talking about an experience that I had when I was 15. And that was an experience of transcendence. It was an experience of enlightenment, really, for a moment, where I had a waking awareness of being beyond time, beyond space, beyond personality, beyond knowing things. I was actually on the phone and I was in a conversation and I said, I know. And all of a sudden I was catapulted into knowingness, like being the experience of knowing that was all encompassing. And it was an experience that was so profound that it became the pivotal experience of my life. And it really showed me that there is another dimension to our existence here that I hadn't heard of, I hadn't had access to prior to that moment. And I say that it was my greatest blessing and my greatest curse, because I've spent my entire life since then really oriented around awakening and reclaiming that state of unbounded presence. And in that moment, it was peaceful, it was pure, it was complete and whole. And what my article or my chapter in the book is about is approaching a place of letting go to allow that expanded awareness and experiencing a visceral terror which completely shocked me. And it shocked me because the only thing I've ever wanted is to awaken. And what was becoming clear to me in those moments was that moving into that space meant a letting go of everything that I identified with. And what I realized is that it was an experience of what I never really believed, even though I've read it all over the place, is that the ego will do anything to survive. And so it was the first time that I really had a conscious experience of the ego fighting for existence, or for my individuated identity fighting for its existence. It was bizarre. It was bizarre and really rattling for me, because I knew that this was a place of peacefulness, and it's what I had gone for my whole life. And so also in my chapter, I'm talking about, well, over the course of my lifetime, what I've noticed is that there's a peeling away of what might be called ego, bit by bit. And I'd always imagined enlightenment as this radical transformation from this moment of a very human, mundane awareness to an exalted awareness. And the conclusion that I've come to, at least for this moment, who knows what's going to come forward in the next moment, but at least for this moment, what I recognize is that awakening doesn't have to be a moment's revelation that is permanent and transformative, that it can be an evolution and that it can be an emergence over time.
Right. One of my girlfriends, God bless her, every time I say, oh, I cleared some stuff, she always goes, what, aren't you done yet?
Right.
No, I'm not done yet. And she says, well, you've been doing this work for so long. And it's like, that's right. And
Yes.
I still have much more to go. It isn't just a one-time boom, now you're completely done. It is a sloughing off of old habits, old patterns, old ways of thinking and believing, till we get to that true essence of who we really are.
Actually, I'm so glad you said that, because that brings up the conversation around resistance. So I have maybe a novel idea of what resistance is in my growing awareness around it. And when I think of resistance, I'm talking also about resistance to things as they are. And so, therefore, our perceptions and our preconceptions that we impose on the world in all ways is resistance to what is truly there. And all of our overlays, all of our collective trauma or collective cultural beliefs and orientations, and all of that is in a way an overlay or a separation between ourselves and ourselves as an expression of universal energy, right? Like ourselves as gods in the flesh is, and the only thing inhibiting it, our expression of that only, is all of our collective conceptualizations.
Yep, beautifully stated. Yes. Well, I'm so excited to share that chapter with folks. I think it will really encourage some folks to really sit and think about things, because the way that you speak is the way that you write, which is on a cognitive level of, let me get in there and kind of toss it around with you. It's beautiful. I really appreciate that about your writing style.
Thank you very much. Well, I come from 18 years of teaching. So, and for me, teaching is being in inquiry collectively. It's not like having all the answers necessarily, but it's a collaborative experience. And that's actually how my coaching is too.
I was just going to say, I just had a fabulous coaching experience with you yesterday with Core Connection. If somebody wants to learn more about you, Mira, how do they find out about Core Connection? How do they find out about you?
Well, thank you. The easiest way to find out about Core Connection is to go to your core, CORE, connection, singular.com, yourcoreconnection.com. And there's actually an ebook that's available for free download on that site. There's a tab that says Blueprint. If you go to that, it's called Your Inner Success Blueprint, 5 Keys to Discovering What You Were Born to Do.
And it is a beautiful ebook, by the way.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's absolutely stunning.
Thank
so,
you.
friends, we encourage you to get on Amazon and pick up Gateway to an Enlightened World. We're so glad to have you with us here, Mira, and with our listeners. Thank you. Thank you for being with us.
Such a pleasure.
Thank you.